8 national championships, more wins than any other program in college basketball history. Tonight at Rupp Arena, it's the Kentucky Wildcats, an in-state foe from Division III, Centre College. Glad to have you along on this final exhibition game of the preseason for Kentucky. Alongside former Auburn Tiger Damian Fishback, I'm Richard Cross. Got a news flash for you. Kentucky, they're young, but guess what? They're also talented.
Yeah, you're right, Richard, but it's unprecedented youth this year. This is going to be exciting basketball. We always know that. They're going to compete for a national championship once again. But what you'll love is their length, their speed, and their positionless basketball. It's about as good as you'll see this year.
This Kentucky team under John Calipari wants to play fast. He says this team is a work in progress. We're going to get to see some of that progress tonight.
Welcome to Rupp Arena, home of the greatest tradition in the history of college basketball. Tonight's game features college tournaments. And
coming up with you over the next couple of hours, we'll take a look at Damian Fishback's trip around the SEC. How does this Kentucky team compare to some of the recent Kentucky teams that have had so much success? And have you looked at the Cats' schedule coming up? They've got big games early. Veteran Tony Green, along with Tony Henderson and Garrick Shannon, the officiating crew tonight. 1 week from tonight, it's from Rio. This, the final exhibition game for the Wildcats leading into the start of the 2017-18 college basketball season. Okay. 8 national championships and more wins than any other program in college basketball history. Scratch and his buddies are ready for a big night of basketball at Rupp Arena, Lexington, Kentucky. Tonight, the Wildcats play host to Centre College out of Division III. Got it.
number 25, PJ.
Hey, is that how you want me to ID you as former Auburn Tiger, or do you want something other than that?
That's cool.
All SEC?
Just put former SEC champion.
Okay.
Because the Auburn right now is not having a good brand.
Alongside
I still love my Tigers,
SEC
though.
champion Damian Fishback.
Still love my Tigers.
8 national championships and more wins than any other program in college basketball history. Tonight at Rupp Arena, it's the final preseason exhibition game for the Kentucky Wildcats as they host in-state foe Centre College. Good Friday night to you, and welcome to Lexington, Kentucky, alongside former SEC champion Damian Fishback. I'm Richard Cross. Got a news flash for you. Kentucky is young, but they're also talented. How talented?
Well, one of the more talented teams in the country, a top 5 team. Unprecedented youth on this team this year, though. But it's going to be an exciting brand of basketball. Length, they got it. Athleticism, they have it as well. We know they're well coached. It's going to be exciting to see these teams progress as the season goes on.
And John Calipari wants his team to play fast going into his 9th season as the head coach in Bluegrass Country. 249 wins here in Lexington. This is the 3rd exhibition game for Kentucky. Played against Thomas More College, beat them. Had a game with Morehead State, won that one 92-67. Opening tip, and we are underway at Rupp Arena. Good Friday night to you. Glad to have you along on the SEC Network. Tony Green, Tony Henderson, and Garrick Shannon, the officials tonight. Quade Green, quick start for the Cats, a 3-ball.
Yeah, one of the better shooters on the basketball team. Expect Kentucky to come out playing very good basketball. One of the most challenging practices in the history of Coach Cal's era here at Kentucky yesterday.
Harry Ayers, good player for Centre College. Colonel's looking for the answer. That 3 off the mark for Tucker Sign. Starting lineup tonight for the Wildcats. Quade Green, Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, Kevin Knox, P.J. Washington. That's 4 freshmen. And then a veteran, Wenyen Gabriel, just a sophomore. Here's Gabriel down the left side of the lane, flips it over the rim, and Kentucky a quick 5-0 lead.
Yeah, good basketball. Very difficult for Central to try to defend because they're undersized at every single position, but they are excited to be here and excited to play this game tonight.
Rakes, Griffin, Sign, Ayers, the guards, and then you've got Jacob Spitzer, 6'8", tallest guy on the roster. He's a forward. Centre College going to play small in this game. Ayers takes it inside, kisses it off the window, and Center's on the board.
Well, Perry Ayers comes from a very athletic family. No surprise that he is excited. A good brand of basketball you'll see from this young man as well. He will not be intimidated.
Got a block, but some body contact there. A foul on Centre College. Greg Mason, head coach in his 19th season in Danville, Kentucky. 347 wins. His teams have combined to win 14 conference championships between the regular season and the conference tournament, and also 7 appearances in the NCAA Division III tournament.
Well, you won't find a nicer guy than Coach Greg Mason. You know, in the shoot-around earlier, he talked about how much he was excited to have his team, but he said, we're going to turn into tourists here in about 4 or 5 minutes. They were taking pictures. They were just excited to be able to play this game and thankful to Kentucky and Coach Cal.
Couple of made free throws there for P.J. Washington. Washington, the freshman out of Dallas, Finley Prep. Length of Kentucky will be an issue in this game for Centre College, who also wants to play fast. There's a 3 all the way and off the mark from Jared Griffin.
I think length for Kentucky will be an issue for most teams. A long team, but also a very skilled team. I think more skilled than most people think.
Rebound for Spitzer. When you say Centre College wants to play fast, it's because of Kentucky's pressure. Coach Mason told us he thought the best shot might be in transition.
Sure. Well, the best time to score is when no one is on the other end. And there goes my guy, P.J. poor man's Paul Pierce Washington.
Pretty high percentage shot there for P.J. Washington. 4 points early for him. 7-point lead for Kentucky. Pull-up jumper just inside the 3-point line for Bailey Rakes.
Bailey Rakes is a guy who is known for knocking down shots about 40% from the 3-point line. And if you leave him open, he will punish you.
Gabriel fouled on the drive. This was P.J. Washington, Kentucky out running.
Well, prime example. positionless basketball, right? That break was started by Kevin Knox. That was basically a 6'9" to a 6'7". How many times do we see that in college basketball? And I think that it stems from Golden State. You look at guys like Kevin Durant, the ability to get the rebound and go. The game has been changed.
Maybe a relatively new term, especially in the college basketball world when you talk about positionless basketball, but that's something that John Calipari has been talking to his team about. Broaden your horizons, make your game more versatile.
Well, Coach Cal's always been ahead of the curve, hasn't he? You know, he was doing the one and done when no one else thought it would work, and then everyone started to jump on the bandwagon. I think he's correct. The 1 and 2 position, or the point guard and the shooting guard, those positions and labels, I think, have forever been changed in this game.
Strong drive by Jared Griffin. Wenyen Gabriel turned down the 3. Here's Diallo. Shoots an air ball. Gabriel from the corner. How about that look? Good stroke from the big guy.
He's critical. I think he can be one of the better defenders, not only in this conference, but in the country, with long arms, athleticism, quickness, and speed. If he can get the confidence to knock down that jump shot from the perimeter, I think it changes the complete trajectory of this Kentucky team.
6 points early for Wenyen Gabriel. Scoop shot won't go, and a rebound to Hamidou Diallo. Then taken away by center. And a foul on Kentucky, and it's going to take us to our first officials timeout. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander picks up the foul. 7-point lead for the Kentucky Wildcats. Centre College, been playing basketball a long time. This is a pretty interesting series. You've just got to go back a long time to find another meeting. An early 7-point lead for 5th-ranked Kentucky over Centre College. An exhibition game tonight at Rupp Arena in Lexington. All-time series, 46 meetings between these two teams, but they were all played between 1906 and 1929. And you see there in 1910, long time ago, Centre handed Kentucky its largest loss in school history. A 70-point win. This was the 1909 team, but it was this team, the 1910 team, that beat the Cats by 70.
Wow, how times have forever changed.
How would you like to have played in uniforms like this? Got the long pants and the belts?
They look like they got swag to me, actually, Richard. Maybe more swag than you think.
And you know, what's old is new again. We're back to the tight jerseys. Those guys were wearing the tight jerseys in the early 1900s.
Well, listen, they still have very good tradition right now. Coach Greg Mason, as we talked about earlier, consistently getting to the NCAA tournament. Top 11 amongst Division III men's basketball coaches, amongst wins all time. He's done a phenomenal job. He'll get it going again at Centre College.
Shot clock down to 5. Centre lost it, got it back. There's a block in the corner. Gilgeous-Alexander, and now Kentucky in transition. Foul on Bailey Rakes. Centre College, Division III, Danville, Kentucky, was founded in the early 1900s. 1,400 the total enrollment. They participated in the Southern Athletic Association. When you're talking about a Division III school, Damian, that means no athletic scholarships, and so they do what they can from a financial aid standpoint to help. But Greg Mason told us you've got to have players and parents who buy into the education they're receiving at Centre. It costs almost $51,000 a year to go to school there.
Well, they have to value the education, and quite frankly, you know, you talk about a 26 on the ACT just to get in. I'm going to tell you right now, I would have been out. Bottom line, I took the ACT. You had to make a 20 to pass. When I came out, I made my 20-something, and I got out of there.
I would have been right on the edge. They would have had to take a close look at the admission packet and then make a decision.
What'd you make, Richard?
26. Telling you, right on the edge.
Nice.
I think it was a 26. Shot clock at 5. Long range 3. Griffin off the mark, and Kentucky runs it down. Nick Richards into the game and all the way to the rack, but he traveled.
Veteran official Tony Green, I was about to call him out. I was going to say, the young man's on his way to the NBA, but he is not there yet. But how about the handles of this young man, right? Out into the open floor. One too many steps, though.
Only senior on the roster for Centre College in the game right now, Zach Schmucker. He's number 34. Gilgeous-Alexander stripped on the way up. He's fouled.
You know, Richard, when you look across the country at different teams that bring experience back, obviously Grayson Allen is able to help Duke. When you look at this Kentucky team this year, you got Miles Bridges, who had substantial amount of minutes at Michigan State. Wenyen Gabriel, 4+ points, is all that they have. You talk about a team that lost 90+% in scoring and 70+ in rebounding. This is a team that was playing high school just a few months ago. And so I think Coach Cal is going to have to do his best job ever to get this team to where I know Kentucky fans want them to be, which is a national championship.
Seems to be the goal around here every year.
Are you kidding me?
11-point lead for Kentucky. 5 of 6 from the free throw line. It's a 7-0 run for the Cats. And you're going to see some pressure. One of the reasons that John Calipari has wanted to press early is to try and get his team into game shape.
Well, let me tell you something, Richard. They got into game shape yesterday. It was not the typical pre-game practice. I mean, they were running 17s and 60 seconds at left. Guys were hanging on their knees. One of the toughest practices I've ever seen.
Follow inside for P.J. Washington. 9-0 run for Kentucky. They lead it by 13. Another turnover, this time a steal for Kentucky. Diallo goes inside, and he's blocked but fouled by Ayers. Tomorrow morning, 10 Eastern, SEC Nation live in Tuscaloosa in front of LSU and Alabama tomorrow night. They'll break down everything from the gridiron to the grill, getting you set for week 10 of the college football season. It's SEC Nation presented by Pilot Flying J right here on the SEC Network and streaming live on the ESPN app.
Richard, the FPI says LSU has a 7% chance of beating Alabama.
Are you saying that's too high or too low?
Now you're trying to get me in trouble. I got to go to LSU now. I think it's too low, candidly. LSU's been playing phenomenal football, but anytime you go against Nick Saban and the Alabama Crimson Tide, it's going to be a tough battle.
I've seen both of those teams in person this year. A lot of athletes on both rosters. Alabama's at a different level. I mean, not that that's breaking news.
So LSU fans, it was too high, right?
I don't know. Darius Guy's pretty special. You see me walking the tightrope there? I was going to take you down that road. I wasn't going there. Kentucky has made 6 of 8 from the free throw line. One thing for a team like Centre College to stay in a game like this, is going to have to make some shots from the perimeter. Perry Ayers gets all the way to the rim that time. Colonel's 0 of 5 from behind the arc so far. Next Friday night, season opener for Kentucky when they host Utah Valley. Quade Green hits his second 3.
I love the pressure that Kentucky's displaying right now. And remember, Richard, this pressure isn't just typical college basketball. 6'11", 6'7", 6'9", 6'6". And so the length with the arms contesting every shot like that right there continues to wear teams out.
P.J. Washington got the block on the perimeter, but Kentucky couldn't grab the loose ball, so Centre College gets it back. Saw a couple of threes already from Quade Green. Freshman out of Philadelphia, highly decorated high school and AAU player, 6 feet, 180 pounds. You see him, you see his game. Is there a recent Kentucky point guard that he reminds you of?
Well, the coaches have said, you know, he has similarities to Tyler Ulis, right? But it's hard to imagine or really compare that Chi-Town toughness that Tyler Ulis brought to the table. I think Quade Green is going to be a huge piece of the puzzle, though, for Kentucky.
Tucker signed with the baseline floater. Thirteen-point lead for Kentucky, and Centre College turns it over. 11:50 to play in the first half. AP Top 25 preseason came out earlier this week. Who's in it? Are these Cats in it? Of course they are, but how high are they? I'll tell you next. Thirteen-point lead for Kentucky, 23-10 with 11:50 to play in half number 1. Duke Blue Devils, second straight year at number 1 in the AP Top 25 preseason poll. Michigan State back in the top 5 for the first time since the 2014 season. Arizona Wildcats, Sean Miller's club checks in at number 3. Then it's Kansas, Bill Self and the Jayhawks right where you expect them to be. And then These Kentucky Wildcats, 50 of the 57 AP preseason polls have featured Kentucky. That's the most by any team all time. You look at the top 10. What do you like?
Well, listen, we just showed the top 5. You know, when you look at Duke, I think a lot boils down to Duval at the point guard position, but they have tremendous shooting from the outside. Wendell Carter is so smooth on the interior. Of course, Marvin Bagley doing an outstanding job. Kansas, a team that Kentucky's going to face, going to be interesting. You got Billy Bad Boy Preston, right? Devontae Ingram's coming back this year. They're going to play a lot of small ball. They lost a lot, though. Landon Lucas gone, of course, with a top 4 pick in Josh Jackson. But Wichita State, I think, is the sleeper out of their top 10. They played Kentucky well last year and have almost everybody back.
Great atmosphere for Wichita State home games. Just an electric environment there. And you see USC there at the bottom of at number 10 in the preseason poll. Andy Enfield, a few years ago, it was Dunk City.
Well, listen.
And it's taken a little while to get it moving in the right direction at Southern Cal, but he's got a good team.
Like their team, you know, this top 10 is going to change throughout the entire season. A lot of teams are incomplete. I actually talked with Coach Mike White earlier today at Florida, and he said people are talking about us being a top 10 team, but forget, you know, losing the type of guys that they lost last year. So many guys that went to the NBA, and when you look at a guy like John Egbunu, who's not coming until probably mid-January, they're just not a complete team at this time. He thinks that they're overrated, but Mike White's a guy who always undersells and over-delivers his basketball team.
A couple of free throws there for Diallo. Cats are 8 of 10 from the line, shooting 80%. They were a 70% free throw shooting team a year ago. Open 3, top of the key, rattled home. Jacob Bates. Averaged 8 points a game a year ago. Did not start tonight, did not start last year.
Yeah, 6'5", 205 pounds. Those are the type of shots that they have to continue to make to hang around in this basketball game. They're going to have to make threes.
Foul inside, and P.J. Washington is headed to the free throw line for Kentucky. Here's what we've got on the menu tonight. Damian has logged some miles. He has made his trip around the SEC, talked to a bunch of coaches, seen a bunch of teams. How does this Kentucky team compare to some other recent Kentucky teams? Well, that's a debate that a lot of Cat fans have had already.
That's going to be fun. You know, we had a chance to talk with the staff yesterday and comparing those teams, and obviously we'll look at some of the big games ahead as well. But when you look at the teams that went to the Final Four, Coach Cal actually compares this team to the 13-14 team that had some bumps and bruises early, but ended up making it to the final game. We'll compare some of those other teams a little later.
Harry Ayers gets inside. Able to draw the contact, and he's got free throws coming. Last year, Perry Ayers was the Southern Athletic Association Newcomer of the Year. Started 6 games, and he has got a basketball family. His uncle, J.B. Brown, that's his uncle on his mom's side, a former Harlem Globetrotter. You hear that music in your head, don't you?
Listen, was a big-time player, and when you look at him, you know, he has a different demeanor, a different swagger about himself. Obviously, out of Bowling Green High, you know, he's the type of player who, when you talk about the way he played the basketball game, he always had a sense of confidence. Like I said earlier, he is fearless. When he comes to this crowd tonight, he's trying to show, you see him? He's excited about the game right now. This is a big-time game for him. He wants to be one of the leaders, if not the leader, on this team.
Ayers has got 6 points in the game for Center College. I thought the mood around the shoot-around today for Center College was really interesting. Greg Mason wasn't trying to sell his team anything, but he did talk to them about enjoying this experience. And if you look at the roster, 14 of the 19 players on the Center College roster are from the state of Kentucky. And I asked Greg Mason, I said, how many of them are Kentucky fans? He said at least half.
He sure did. And so when you look at this type of opportunity, he said that he wanted to concentrate on playing the way they would play throughout the season. They were not going to change their game for the Kentucky Wildcats.
Kiss off the glass won't go there for Gilgeous-Alexander. How about the between the legs pass and a finish down low for Jacob Spitzer.
And we hear a little bit of that black and gold in Rupp Arena getting excited. Cal on the last play was clapping his hands, frustrated with his team right now for allowing Center College to really out-hustle them right now.
An 11-point lead for Kentucky. Inside 10 minutes to play in the first half. Good look that time for Tucker Sine. He left it short. Strong physical move, but Sasha Kalia-Jones can't finish down low. Kentucky keeps it on the offensive possession.
Well, and look, this is what we're talking about when Coach Cal looks at the sideline and is clapping his hands. This is just outright hustling, wanting it more. And when you see Spitzer and Bates sharing the basketball, getting out on the break, that's what Coach Cal in practice yesterday was trying to get his players to get accustomed to the level that they're going to have to play in order to win basketball games.
Travel by Kevin Knox. Did you see that pass? No look, bounce pass between the legs of the defender.
It's pretty basketball. I mean, they are, most of these guys from Kentucky. You know, Kentucky people know how to play the game of basketball.
Bates from LaGrange, Kentucky. By Center College standards, last year was a down year. They went 14-11, so they did have a winning record, 9-5 in conference play.
Ooh. He heard you, Richard.
A little aggressive.
The foul is on Gabriel. That's his first and the team's third.
You talked about the past, and look at that little wraparound. You know what? This is so exciting, and this is why Coach Greg Mason talked about not only what this meant for him, but what Coach Cal did for the entire state, what he does for the community all throughout the state of Kentucky. They are enjoying this, and this is something they'll never forget.
It's the first thing that Greg Mason said to us today. We walked up and he said, this game means so much to our program. He said, but that's what Cal does. He said, the state of Kentucky, the Commonwealth, is important to John Calipari. And, you know, Kentucky could play anybody in their exhibition games. But if you look at the teams they played, Thomas More College, Morehead State, and now Center College, and keeping it in the state.
Nice extra pass.
Three from the corner for Tucker Sine. All of a sudden, a 6-point game here in Lexington. Kentucky leading it over Center College.
I like this. Coach Cal not calling any timeout. Of course, have one coming up. Just letting them work through it.
Amadou Diallo all the way through the lane and to the rim.
20-plus points in the previous game. Probably the most lethal offensive player on this basketball team. Maybe Kevin Knox, but that's what they're missing on this basketball team right now. When they need a basket, who's that go-to guy?
Bucket by Diallo snapped a 7-0 run for Center.
That's good.
Kevin Knox. Second team All-SEC in the preseason. He had 27 points against Thomas More College. 16 against Morehead. He's averaging 21.5 through the first couple of exhibition games.
Well, what makes that so impressive is he's 6'9", 215 pounds, and Center College been pretty impressive thus far as well.
Greg Mason pleased with how his team is playing. Colonels trail the Wildcats by 10. 10-point lead for Kentucky over Centre College. Final exhibition game for the Wildcats. This is the only exhibition for Centre College. They will jump into their season just around the corner as well. Earlier today, came in for shoot-around. Some big eyes as they came into Rupp Arena. Had a good little workout in, and then they cut things short, Damon, about 15 minutes earlier and said, all right, we're going to take pictures now.
Yeah, Coach Mason actually had his wife and daughter here. His daughter, Lucy Mason. They were just enjoying the scenery. But you know what? The team came ready to play, and that's what is exciting when you get these type of opportunities. You take advantage, and you see the coaching resume. We mentioned it earlier, 7 NCAA tournament appearances, 14 conference titles, and look at that winning percentage, 72%. As a head coach, you do anything for 2 decades, you got to be pretty good.
And Greg Mason coaching at his alma mater. He was a player there. All-conference guard, 1,082 points, 374 assists. That's 5th in school history.
Well, he will remember this for the rest of his life. Actually, has a very good relationship with my former high school coach at Greenwood High School, Curtis Turley. And when we talk about guys that mix humility with hunger, that's Coach Mason.
He told us he got a little bit of a late start. He's 46 years old and has a baby girl at home. You mentioned Lucy a second ago. Had her at shoot-around today, 6 months old. And you want to talk about a proud papa. he kind of broke away from talking to us at one point. Said, I'm just going to walk around in here with her for a second.
He also said he hadn't gotten sleep the past 5 nights from sleeping 2 hours from that 6-month-old, but he loved it.
Shot clock violation. Rakes was off the mark and deep as the clock was winding down.
Much better energy coming out of that timeout by the Wildcats. They can be lethal defensively with that length, but they have to play at a certain level that you're not accustomed to playing to in high school. All day. All day. They continually have mismatches. You look at their positions, whether it's Washington, Knox, Richards, Gabriel, they're going to be difficult to guard.
9 for Washington so far. Richards doesn't get a block there, but he certainly altered that shot. Diallo in the lane. He's fouled on the drive. Full slate of college football for you tomorrow right here on the SEC Network. It gets started in Starkville, UMass and Mississippi State at noon Eastern. Then it's Ole Miss and Kentucky here in Lexington, Coastal Carolina and Arkansas on the SEC alternate channel. Those both kick at 4 Eastern and it's 7:30. SEC Saturday night presented by Holiday Inn Express. Southern Miss and Tennessee in Knoxville. Nick Richards with authority.
He's a pro, obviously. They have a lot of those here in Kentucky, but we asked Coach Cal earlier to compare him. Names that were brought up, Karl-Anthony Towns, Willie Cauley-Stein. He said, I can't really compare him to any of those guys, but if he gets it, and he said he believes he will get it, he'll go as high as anybody in the draft.
You know, I thought it was interesting when we were talking about Richards earlier today. He started playing basketball when he was 14. That's only like 4.5 years ago.
Well, big men, they develop a little bit slower, but look at that. Look at that wingspan. Big boy basketball. That's how he needs to finish throughout the entire basketball season. And he is going to be important. We compare this team to other teams. We remember down the stretch that 38-0 team when they just took it inside to Karl-Anthony Towns in the Notre Dame game and in the Wisconsin game. They're going to need that this year as well.
Nick Richards is Mr. Basketball in the state of New Jersey. Snaps a 10-0 run for Kentucky. Vontae Green right back at it. 8 points for Green. Couple of threes, a net bucket. Inside 5 minutes to go in the first half. 16-point lead for the Wildcats. And a turnover by Centre. Well, they got it back. Briefly. Washington gets it off. And another two-handed jam by Nick Richards. 6 points for Nick Richards in the game.
Richard, that's what you're going to see, a lot of blocked shots, but this is what I want to see, how they transition from defense to offense. And Kevin Knox, a guy with a beautiful stroke, candidly, told him earlier, I think he's got to get in the gym more. One of those guys with a beautiful stroke, if he just spends a little bit extra time in the gym, I think he could be a lethal shooter from the perimeter, and they need that.
Jumper won't go for Bailey Rakes. Washington stepped into a three, didn't get it to fall. Rakes a little short with the jumper. You wonder if legs getting a little tired for some of these center players. Foul on the drive.
Well, they're getting tired for the Kentucky players, too. You should have saw those 17s yesterday. But Mr. Richards isn't tired. Look at that. Big boy basketball. I love it.
Thank you, Peter Burns. 42-24 our score here at Rupp. So a big football game tomorrow in Lexington with Kentucky hosting Ole Miss. Wildcats already bowl eligible. Pretty big basketball games coming up for this Kentucky team as well. Regular season starts next Friday night. 6 games in 17 days.
Richard, are they not all big here in Big Blue Nation? I'm just asking now.
Well, I mean, there are, what, 20,000 here for an exhibition game tonight.
Right, 20,000.
Great crowd.
14,000 for the previous non-televised game, right? How long ago was that?
That was on Monday night.
Game?
But it was one of these charity games that teams all over the country have kind of put together on short notice. And they had about a week and a half to sell tickets and sold 14,500. Look, this is what's coming up. Kansas, that's game 3. That's the Champions Classic in Chicago this year. Part of a doubleheader with Duke and Michigan State, then Kentucky and Kansas. Virginia Tech. Well, they go to Morgantown. That's a tricky one.
It is, but you forgot about one of the more important games in the state of Kentucky now. Louisville. Listen, Rick Pitino was gone. Coach Padgett is there, but I watched him in an exhibition game the other night. Quinn Snyder still shooting the cover off of the basketball. Ray Spalding still one of the more versatile players that you're going to see in the ACC. They still have a lot of the mannerisms and discipline that you had when Rick Pitino was there. And Padgett knows the system extremely well. They will not be an easy victory by any means this year.
And Fish, don't you know that the guys that are actually playing are so ready to get on the floor and play basketball and quit worrying about some of the other stuff?
Sure. Well, They're like mini teams. They just want to put the other stuff behind them. And right now, if you have whatever the investigations, if you have any of that going on, it's really out of your control. So all that they can concern themselves with as players and as coaches, quite frankly, is taking care of what's in between the line.
Kentucky up 21 with 2.5 minutes to play in half number one. Shot clock violation, but Kentucky grabbed it and let play on. Diallo off the mark. Knox called for a charge.
Good call. Really never got it going through. One thing Coach Cal doesn't like is when the ball sticks. And right now, Kevin Knox trying to get in there and really force it. Perry Ayers doing a nice job, the sophomore, 6'5" or 6'4", 175 pounds, giving up his body for his team.
Kentucky shooting 59% in this first half. Different story for center. Right at 30%. Gabriel for three, dead center. That's his second triple of the game.
This could be his coming out party. He's a guy who I liked last year, but he kind of got lost in the shuffle. He really got tired as the season went on. He's picked up about 15 pounds over last year of muscle. He's a guy who I think could take that leadership role on this team.
Turnover there by center. So with Wenyen Gabriel, you got one from the corner, this one from the wing.
Well, he's 6'9", 205 pounds, but he is the idea positionless individual, and he's a positionless player on both ends. Defensively, he can guard 1 through 5 at the collegiate level. Offensively, I think he could play 1 through 5, handles it well enough, distributes it well enough, and shoots it well too.
Wenyen Gabriel, born in the Sudan, gets it right here, kisses it off the window. That's 11 for Wenyen Gabriel, leads all scorers. So a little bit different look there where he goes to the rack. You were a shooter. Shooters love to shoot. Great his shot. We've seen it from the perimeter a couple of times.
Well, I always like shots to go in, Richard. So no matter the follow through, the arc, the backspin, if it's going through the net, it's a good looking shot. I think for him, he's just the guy, the type of guy who has to get more confidence.
For Wenyen Gabriel, and Kentucky goes over the 50-point mark in half number one.
He's breathing pretty hard right now, but he is the type of guy who, if his motor can match his versatility and his upside, he takes Kentucky to a different level.
First half winding down. Ayers trying to get a shot off, has it stripped. There's a block, and that takes us to halftime. 52-24, Kentucky led by Wenyen Gabriel, the sophomore from Manchester, New Hampshire. Perfect from the field, 13 points, 3 rebounds. Cats in control. Send you to the studio. Peter Burns, take it away.
Thank you to our official Cornerstone
Floor is from Winchester, and in just a few minutes, he's going to have 33 seconds to score a three-point shot. And if he does, he's going to win 2 free tickets to the Troy game on November 20th from the Becker Law Office. But he has a special
You're so demanding. I couldn't find an orange tie, so. Yeah. .8 lead for Kentucky at the half, 52-24 over Center College. Just about time to start half number 2. Back at Rupp Arena with you on this Friday night alongside Damian Fishback. I'm Richard Cross. We talked at the outset about Kentucky being a team that wanted to run. Did they run enough in the first half for your liking?
Well, they did, but how they ran was what impressed me. This team can be lethal, but it has to start with stops on the defensive end and then completing it with the rebound. They do that, they can beat just about anybody in the country. You see how they jump and run out? This is where it starts. Defensive rebound, anybody on this basketball team can start the break. Big finish, big boy, P.J. Washington, love it. Here it is again, rebound, Kevin Knox. I don't have to be the point guard. I can start the break, long strides, nice screaming running hook, and then look at him getting on the floor after loose balls. Coach Cal will like that. And then P.J. Washington between 3 defenders gives it up, and Richards with the big time finish. Here's Sasha Kalea-Jones. I think rebounding could be the key for him. If he can do that, he can get more playing time. But at the end of the result, Wenyen Gabriel knocking shots along with the rest of the Cats will be the difference of how far they go.
Kentucky closed the half on a 14-0 run. Wenyen Gabriel had the last 7 of the half. Perfect from the field. P.J. Washington, a couple of dunks. He was 3 of 5.
Well, yeah, you see 61%, as you said. This is a team that I think doesn't have to make every shot because of their length, athleticism, and basketball IQ. For guys that played in high school just a year ago, actually very heady players. They're going to have to make shots eventually, though. We'll see if Center College makes them knock down some jump shots in the second half.
Quick 3 to start the second half for Jared Griffin. Long rebound ends up in the hands of Tucker Sign.
Nice.
Spitzer on the baseline. Jacob Spitzer.
Tell you what, Coach Mason's got to be excited the way this team passes the basketball. Took some lumps last year. A group of sophomores really this year, but playing with confidence and doing it in a hostile environment.
Offensive foul on Kentucky. Quade Green called for an illegal screen. It's his second.
One of the keys that officials are concentrating on this year even more are making sure that guys are stationary when they set basketball screens. J.D. Collins talked about it at the Rules Committee meeting earlier in the basketball season, or earlier a couple months ago. That was the correct call.
Diallo trying to be unselfish, but turns it over in the process. Bailey Rakes. Now College, Center College. Maybe trying to go a little too fast there.
Nice.
Quade Green down double figures. He's got 10. 3 Wildcats in double figures. Gabriel leading the way with 13. Washington with 10. And now Quade Green, the freshman from Philadelphia. Ayers on the drive and 1.
Love it. Ayers relentless at attacking the basket. We mentioned at the beginning of the basketball game that he would be fearless. This is where Diallo is going to have to continue to work on his basketball game. Not bad defense, just brought his hands down. He broke the line of verticality. If he just keeps his hands straight up, he would have probably got a stop, or at least just did a good job of contesting without fouling.
Harry Ayers was second on the Center College team in scoring a year ago, averaged 10.5 points per game. He's got 9 tonight.
Well, he shoots it well from the charity stripe, close to 78%, so you don't want to foul him. He also shoots it well behind that three-point line, which is why Diallo was out guarding so close.
Big rebound down low for Knox. His putback won't go. P.J. Washington trying to clean up the mess. There's a foul inside. Gabriel drew the contact.
That's what I want to see. That's what I think has to be another identity of this Kentucky Wildcat team. Now listen, Center College, they're undersized, right? We talked about that at the outset. But if they can have the mindset, when you look at Wenyen Gabriel at 6'9", P.J. Washington 6'7", Kevin Knox 6'9", if they have the mindset to attack the glass, those are extra possessions and opportunities.
Spitzer picked up his 3rd foul, so he will go to the bench. Jacob Bates checks in. Gabriel, a sophomore, averaged 4.5 points and just shy of 5 rebounds a year ago. Kentucky this year loses 93% of its scoring. Gabriel scoops it home. Gabriel looking to make a big step, freshman to sophomore.
Well, that's typically what all college basketball players do. That freshman to sophomore year is typically the biggest strides that they will make. Gabriel, so important for him to make it this year because there is no other leadership on this basketball team.
Not that's got any experience. 3 from the corner. Good shot there by Bailey Rakes. Lead for Kentucky is 24. It's now still 24. Tucker Sign fouled on the 3-point shot. He's got free throws coming up.
Well, you mentioned Bailey Rakes earlier. We talked about him shooting it from behind the 3-point line, 40% last year. He is a young man who you have to find 33-pointers. If you don't find him early, he does what he does there. Makes you pay.
Second foul on Diallo. Tucker Sign shot 89.8% from the free throw line a year ago. That is close to automatic.
It's DeAndre Burnett numbers, right? Ole Miss, guy who shoots it well from the free throw line. And, you know, we won't know, quite frankly, what Kentucky is really capable of doing until they get tested. And I think they're going to get tested early. You look at veteran teams like Vermont. Obviously, when you get to the Kansas game, you know they'll be tested. You mentioned, as we go down the schedule, UCLA, West Virginia. I mean, these are teams that are going to push them to the limit, and that's why Coach Cal has that look on his face. He's trying to get a group of guys that were playing high school a few months ago to realize what's ahead of them.
Don't call me crazy, but Harvard coming here on December 2nd. It's a well-coached team.
you see that play and you think that's just a careless turnover. Well, quite frankly, Gilgeous-Alexander is trying to do what Coach Cal wants. He doesn't want the basketball to stick, so they're trying to move it. What they don't want to do, and Coach Kenny Payne talked about this, they don't want the guys to be thinking so much that they don't play the basketball game. At times, the Wildcats are doing that.
9 turnovers tonight by UK. A 3 by Rakes is off the mark.
Got to be able to go to work here, big fella.
Rodney Green spins home a 3.
Confident stroke.
Rodney Green played in the McDonald's High School All-American game a year ago. He was the MVP of the Jordan Brand Classic and the MVP at Hoop Hall. There were a lot of teams that would have loved to have added Quade Green to their roster. Like everybody in America. Every single one of them. 59-34. Kentucky leading it over Center College. Damian has been on the road. We'll tell you where. Coming up next. Kentucky by 25 over Center College, 15:52 to play. Richard Cross, Damian Fishback with you from Rupp Arena. Leading up to the start of the season, Damian couldn't wait to get started, so he jumped in his car that looked just like that and hit the road around the SEC.
A lot of mileage. I'm going to tell you something, though, Richard. If I had anything to say about my trip, believe the hype. The SEC is back, and they're back with a vengeance if they take care of business in non-conference. Kayvon Allen, Chris Chiozza, very impressive in Florida, veteran backcourt. John Egbunu will be crucial, though. Player to watch, Mr. Hayes. That's right, one of the more versatile big guys and more underrated big guys in the league, but they lost a lot. Robinson's gone now. Casey Hill gone. They'll have to take time to replace that. Coach Mike White said the offense is there, but not quite the defense yet.
Avery Johnson's team in Tuscaloosa is going to be interesting to watch. They've got offense coming. They've got new guys coming that can really go.
Well, Colin Sexton, that's right, ladies and gentlemen. He is better than advertised. He's on the second team preseason, but he is coming for that #1 spot, I promise you. Key returning guys, Riley Norris, Dante Hall, dunking Dante Hall, Braxton Ken, Dazon Ingram, all critical cores, and Daniel Giddens, I think he's going to be crucial as well.
Billy Kennedy's squad in College Station may be special to watch this year. Robert Williams, Tyler Davis, both big time in the front court. It was announced today that Robert Williams is going to be suspended for the season opener. At front court, though, that is a duo that's as scary as any in the country.
Well, it's hard to find a better front court than Texas A&M, and quite frankly, we're not talking about DJ Hogue and Trosha Morelos as well. Good experience with guys back. You know, this is going to be a challenging year for Kentucky to win it all in the SEC. They'll get tested.
Will Hager with a bucket on the play coming out of the timeout. Good execution by Center College. How about that finish? Quade Green on the assist. Kevin Knox with the flush.
And candidly, let's give Center College credit. They continue to battle throughout this entire basketball game. I love the way they're moving the basketball, heady players. But Kentucky, on the other hand, it's hard to play when you're up like Kentucky is in this basketball game, to stay focused, in particularly for young players.
.15:03 left. It's a 25-point lead for the Wildcats. Third exhibition game. A little unusual to have 3, but because of the charity game that Kentucky and lots of other teams around the country were allowed to play. Picked up an extra one. I think John Calipari was happy to have one more real type game for his team.
Agreed. You know, they could play 1,000 games and it wouldn't be enough. And when you look at the games, the way they play, they're taking gigantic steps every game. The block shot, Gilgeous-Alexander, I think, will continue to get better every single game. And the way this team progresses defensively, I think, will be a huge determining factor of the wins and loss column in the non-conference in particular.
Kind of a quiet night tonight for Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. You see, averaging 13 through the 2 exhibition games. He's got 5 tonight. Against Moorhead on Monday night, 17 points, 4 rebounds, 4 assists.
But one of the things that you actually miss when you have young players oftentimes is consistency. And so one thing that we'll find out early with this Kentucky team is who's going to be that consistent player, who's going to do it every night, especially as the competition level steps up.
You know, you can average 14 a game when you have 21 one game and 7 the next, but I think you probably would like to have coaches that would see you have 15 one game and 13 the next.
Well, yes, but on this team, I think that they will have different guys that will step up, Richard. They have so much versatility, so many guys that can put up 20-plus points on you.
And you saw that early a year ago, kind of bouncing back and forth with Monk and De'Aaron Fox and some of those young guys. Center College going to take a timeout. 14-14 to play. That takes us to a break as well. 29-point lead for the Wildcats over the Colonels of Center College at Rupp Arena. Largest lead of the game for the Cats. (65-36), Kentucky leading it over Center College. Several times last year we had a chance to hear John Calipari mic'd up. This is what he sounds like. Always interesting to hear him talking to the young guys.
Right away he was open. Push! You waited! Push, push! Go, run! Go ahead, middle! No!
The last play, you settled for a jumper. Why would you do that? Just go, man. Look, they now got to play your 3 because you made 3. Now I'm trying to dunk on people.
Come here. You come here. Come here. Because you didn't get it blocked, we got a 3-point play.
That was John Calipari wired a year ago. Kentucky will host Utah Valley coming up next Friday night, season opener. We'll have that mic on John Calipari. He'll be wired.
Well, he's so fun to watch. I mean, and you look at a couple of those teams at the end, and particularly Texas A&M, they're the one team in the SEC that has the size to match Kentucky, maybe Georgia as well. And Tennessee's another team that I think is underrated. But yesterday in practice, he was the same way. He is John Coach Cal is the same way every time he steps in between the lines. Yesterday he was hollering, rebound, rebound. They actually had something over the top of the rim that made it basically impossible to make shots.
It's like they put the lid on.
Basically put the lid on it. And so what they would do was play basketball, shoot it up, and then just continue to rebound. They did that for about 20 minutes. The guys' tongues were hanging, and they were dragging at the end.
Tough shot. Art Walker off the square. Four points tonight for Art Walker.
One thing that I have seen tonight that I really didn't see in their other games as much, but seemingly very careless with the basketball. You know, the question is going to be, Coach Cal has always had tremendous point guards, whether it be John Wall, whether it be Tyler Ulis, McKnight. Who is going to be that elite point guard on this basketball team? Will it be Gilgeous-Alexander? Will it be Green? That is yet to see right now.
Nick Richards headed to the free throw, chance for a three-point play. Tomorrow morning, 10 Eastern, SEC Nation live in Tuscaloosa, previewing LSU, Alabama. They'll break down everything from the gridiron to the grill for Week 10 in the SEC. It's SEC Nation presented by Pilot Flying J on the SEC Network, streaming live on the ESPN app.
Did you see those expressions? It's hard to imagine what each one of them's thinking. No telling what Paul's thinking. And Laura's just laughing.
She's just rolling her eyes. Rolling her eyes and laughing at everybody. Richards has now got 9 points in the ball game. Gabriel leads the way with 15. Quade Green's got 13. P.J. Washington with 10.
I like to see this. Little zone by Kentucky. Well, with the length, Coach Cal doesn't like to play it a lot because he wants to prepare his guys for the next level, and he wants to make sure the guys have accountability. But I like just to even look at the length when they stretch their arms out, the way to contest. If they'll play that and be active, that can win them some basketball games this year.
Richards, Gabriel, and Knox along the bottom line. Good look from the corner for Art Walker.
Coach Cal will not like that.
This is what you wanted to see. How about that turnaround?
Woo! Pro stuff. Antoine Walker, former Kentucky great, says that all the time, and that's exactly what that is. He has a tremendous touch for a big guy.
And Nick Richards has not committed a foul in this game. Against Thomas More College in their first exhibition, they didn't have a scenario where you could actually foul out, but he picked up 5 fouls in that game. Has not committed a foul tonight. The follow there for Knox.
All created by the length and turnover on the defensive end. You think about teams that like to play zone, Syracuse, Texas A&M a little bit. I think we see this later on in the year.
Double-digit rebounds now for Kevin Knox. He's got 10 in the game to go along with 6 points. How does this Kentucky team compare to some of the recent Kentucky teams? Take a look at that next. Cats in control. Kentucky leads by 31, 12:05 to play tonight at Rupp Arena in Lexington. John Calipari's tenure entering his 9th season. This is a team that is used to making deep runs. That 09-10 team lost in the Elite Eight.
Yeah, some people say that they still feel like that was their best team. Obviously, you can see the success those guys, John Wall, Derek Cousins, having at the next level. You remember the 11-12, though? That was when Darius Miller was the leader. You had guys like Jones and Lamb. Sensational basketball once again. And obviously, as you got to 2012-13, there was a little letdown with the NIT, the only letdown, and that's because Nerlens Noel got hurt late in the season. They just couldn't recover. Obviously, 2013-14 lost in the final game. That's the most comparing team that Coach Cal says that they really have.
That team didn't click early. It took a little while for them to kind of get their feet under. They were an 8 seed going into the NCAA tournament, made that run all the way to the championship game, and then obviously a couple of years ago lost in the Final Four. They were just a game away from the Final Four last year. And here's part of the reason that you can have that kind of success is because you're loaded with talent.
Sure. I mean, no different this year. And these are all guys, especially when you look at those top 4 that quite frankly could be gone next year. I think Quade Green, even though he has an incredible upside, I think he may be one of those guys that needs to come back like a Tyler Ulis did. But potentially, Knox, Washington, Richards, Vanderbilt could be a one and done. And Jared Vanderbilt will be crucial. Reminds me of Lamar Odom, so smooth in the open floor, can do a little bit of everything, and he will take this team to another level when he comes back.
Jared Vanderbilt, left foot injury. The initial plan was to have surgery. It was going to take about 3 months to recover. But then Vanderbilt, along with doctors and his family and Coach Cal, decided this thing might heal. Let's let it play out a little longer. They're going to reevaluate in a couple of weeks in hopes that he could come back sooner. He wants to be on the floor. Actually came out of his walking boot, was walking around the facility today at practice.
And that's him, obviously, with the jacket on, sitting beside, to the right of him, Brad Calipari, Coach Cal's son, who I think is the best shooter on the team, by the way. You should have seen him in practice, Richard. The guy doesn't miss. He doesn't miss, I'm telling you.
The foul is on Gabriel. That's his third on the team's.
Third foul on Wenyen Gabriel. Brad Calipari hasn't played tonight. Chose to come and play here for his dad. Thinking about the possibility of being a coach one day and wanted to learn under John Calipari, certainly one of the best in college basketball.
Well, he already knows the game. You can tell that. But what I love about the way he plays is he goes hard. I mean, in practice, I've seen him practice probably 3 or 4 times this year. He does not let up, and he makes other guys on the team better as well as everyone else on this basketball team. One thing that they do is they compete and they want to get better.
Kentucky back in the zone. Shot clock down to 5. And a turnover by Center College.
I'm telling you, Richard, if they learn to play this, that can be that can give them a 13-1, 9-2 run in a huge game that turns around. That zone is something that Coach Cal doesn't love to play, but he needs to have it in his back pocket this year.
Washington. Richards fouled. Grabbed the loose ball rebound and went up and drew the foul. Nick Richards has 11 points tonight to go along with 7 rebounds.
Richards at the line for 2.
Richards, a guy who has length, he has athleticism, but you see that stroke right there? That's what separates him from some of the other bigs as I traveled around the SEC. Tyler Davis, a nice big, who has improved his jump shot. You can't forget about preseason SEC Player of the Year, Yante Maten, who's put up 33-plus games. But something about Nick Richards, his length, his demeanor, the way he plays the basketball game, I think this guy could be out of here next year.
You mean after 2 years? or when you say next year, you're talking about like 2018 when this season ends.
2018 when this season ends.
Wow.
He could say goodbye.
11-11 to play. Kentucky leads by 30. Struck today. We visited with Cal after their shoot-around. He's got unawareness of kind of the responsibility that the position that he's in goes head coach at the University of Kentucky in a place where basketball is such a big deal. It matters so much to hear all over the state of Kentucky. It matters at the high school level. It matters at the Division III level for Centre College, and certainly it matters here in Lexington and down the road in Louisville. Well, he talked about the responsibility that goes along with sitting in that chair.
Sure. I asked him, I said, does it get any easier now that you've been doing this one-and-done thing forever? He said, Fishback, no crying on the yacht. He said, it took me 20 years, 2 decades to get a job like this, and he loves where he's at. He appreciates the support and the fans of Lexington and Kentucky so much. He doesn't want to be anywhere else, period.
8 points now for Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Cal talked some about the history of the head coaching job, and he immediately went to Adolph Rupp. He said, look, when Adolph Rupp came here, there was no Kentucky basketball. I mean, it existed, but there wasn't any good. He created a legacy over the course of 40 years and kind of built the culture that still exists today.
That's right. He appreciates where he's at. He doesn't take it for granted 1 second. He even talked about, hey, it's been 5 coaches to win a national championship here. He said, you want to win a national championship? Come to Kentucky.
He said, if you want to win a national championship, get this job. I don't know if he's going to give this job up anytime soon.
Well, Kentucky fans don't want him to, I'll tell you that.
Adolph Rupp won national titles in 48, 49, 51, 58. Joe B. Hall won a title. Rick Pitino won one in 96. Tubby Smith in 98. And 2012 was John Calipari, forever etching his name into the history of Kentucky basketball. $249 wins going back to 2009. That's the most in Division I in that time span.
Well, and the wins are great. The championship that he won was great. He loves being here. But when it comes to Coach Cal, it's all about helping young people. And he's done that. When you see 15 players, or you see Kentucky players on 15 out of 30 NBA teams. You see the most players in the NBA of any other school in college basketball. That's what he's about. Over $1 billion, Richard, since he's been at Kentucky, for his players that have come out of here. Collectively, their contract's more than $1 billion. That's changed a lot of lives. That's made a huge difference.
We were visited with Eric Lindsay, who's the media relations director here at Kentucky. One of his responsibilities is when Coach Cal gets to the office every morning, he's got to have a report ready of what the former Kentucky players did in the NBA the night before. Strong basket there by Jared Griffin. When Cal came into the office on Wednesday morning, there were 25 Kentucky players who played in games the previous night in the NBA. Centre College.
How about this fight by Centre College? Forgetting about the scoreboard and continuing to fight as this game goes on.
Tucker Stein, quick trigger there in the corner. We got a timeout on the floor. We'll take the timeout as well. Kentucky leading it by 30. Kentucky with the lead over Center College. Back with you at Rupp Arena in Lexington. Kentucky involved kind of in the community. That is one of the young guys, Kevin Knox, answering phones as part of the Kentucky Telethon. Their annual alumni game raised over $1 million. That telethon, though, that picture, they had the Kentucky players and coaching staffs answering phones, raising money, and this was right on the heels of Hurricane Harvey. They did so much devastation. Raised over $1 million, and then Coach Cal took a couple of his players to Houston, met up with a couple of former Kentucky players so that they could see what that money they raised was actually doing.
He gets it. He really does. We asked him, what made you so committed to giving back in the community? And he went back to when he was growing up. He gave the credit to his mother. He talked about the fact that when I was young, even though we didn't have a lot, you know, sometimes he would give up a sweater or his mother would give up some piece of clothing to someone else. And he said he would look at his mom like, hey, I only got a couple of sweaters myself. But he was taught that. And he said not only does he want to teach other players that, but he feels a responsibility because of the position that he has at the likes of a place like Kentucky. I thought it was impressive.
Former Wildcats and Texas natives Andrew and Aaron Harrison met up with Coach Cal and some of the current Cats when they went to visit those Red Cross shelters, and kind of makes it a little more real. One thing to say, hey, yeah, we raised a bunch of money and then sent a check. It's another when you see the impact that that money's having.
He said that if I took this position and the only thing that I was concerned with was championships and wins and didn't think about helping these players and giving back to the community where I reside, then I would feel like I cheated the position, and I don't want to do that.
8 minutes to play, a Kentucky 30-point lead over Center College.
Center College relentless this entire basketball game. Not 1 ounce of quit. Quite frankly, these young players from Kentucky, when they watch the game film, will learn a lot from this Center College team. How hard they played, the effort, how they stuck together when facing adversity. The question will be, as the competition level steps up, will Kentucky continue to step up and respond?
When you have in-state programs playing each other, even when they're at different levels, Center College in Division III, Kentucky obviously in the SEC Division I, there are going to be some ties. Kentucky, a relatively small state, about 4 million people live here, and one of the most famous Wildcats of them all. Never dribbled a basketball, but he sat courtside for 40 years. Kaywood Ledford, who this court is named after, is a graduate of Center College.
Who do you think
the all-time greats? Probably got a good seat to watch this one. He was inducted into the Center College Hall of Fame in 1949. Also part of the Kentucky Athletics Hall of Fame. Radio play-by-play man at the University of Kentucky from 1953 until 1992.
Unbelievable. You know, when you think about people who have attachments like that, we actually talked to Greg Mason about that before the game. We talked about, you know, people who kind of would be rooting for both teams. And if he were here, you know, would it be Kentucky Wildcats or would it be Center College?
He was telling us about a Center College graduate who is a longtime Kentucky season ticket holder, kind of pointed to the section where that fella sits, and he said, tonight, first time ever, I'll be wearing a gold shirt.
That's right.
When I come to Rupp, and I'm going to be cheering against my Cats. He gets to go home happy either way tonight, I guess. Little jumper off the back iron that time for Perry Ayers. Ayers and Sign both with 12 points to lead Center College.
I like that, Mr. Green. Oh, Earl the Pearl spin.
17 tonight for Quade Green. Both Green and Gabriel with 17 points. Three from the corner for Schmucker. Only senior on the roster. Only senior in the building tonight for these two teams. Kentucky has brought Ty Wynyard into the game for the first time. You see Wynyard, the New Zealand native, with an offensive rebound. In the exhibition game against Thomas More. This was Quade Green, little spin move.
Yeah, exhibiting his ability to display a nice Earl the Pearl spin. Quade Green probably the most impressive in the exhibition games thus far. I think when you look at a guy like Tyler Ulis, it gives him confidence. It gives him motivation to know that being 6 feet is not something that's going to hold him back. You look at Player of the Year last year in Frank Mason. 6 feet, but tough, skilled, efficient.
Good touch there by Kevin Knox. Kentucky's lead is now 35. See Ty Wynyard pop out. The quick story on him in the mask against Thomas More College. Took an elbow to the nose. Did not play in the exhibition game afterward. And back out on the floor tonight. Coolest thing you'll hear about Ty Wynyard, his father is a professional lumberjack and holds 150 individual world titles as a lumberjack.
You know, we were talking to him about that before the game. He lit up. That's something he's proud of.
I looked at it. I said, "Are you really a lumberjack too?" He said, "Yeah." Are you? I said, "No, I'm not." Double-double tonight for Kevin Knox. 13 points, 11 rebounds. Interested to hear from John Calipari after this game is over if he accomplished what he wanted to out of this ball game.
Sure.
Tomorrow it is a full slate of college football for you on the SEC Network. It started at noon Eastern with UMass and Mississippi State, followed by Ole Miss and Kentucky at 4 Eastern. SEC alternate channels got Coastal Carolina and Arkansas, and then well, SEC Saturday night, Southern Miss and Tennessee in Knoxville. That one presented by Holiday Inn Express. All 4 games streaming live on the ESPN app. Gabriel got another one.
I'll tell you something. If he can knock down that 3-point shot like that this year, it changes this team and the complexion of this team drastically. They will see zone. They haven't seen that tonight against Center College. But the ability to knock down the outside shot by Wenyen Gabriel at 6'9", quite frankly, probably puts him up from a second-round pick to a first-round pick if he can do it consistently.
Kevin Knox has now got 15 points. Gabriel, 8 of 11 from the field tonight. 3 of 4 from behind the arc. 20 points and 9 rebounds for the sophomore from New Hampshire.
Well, some of the baskets that he's getting inside, he's just, you know, he's 6'9", so he has Center College outmatched. But the ability to knock down the stroke is something he can do against anybody.
14 now for Perry Ayers.
Didn't we tell you he wouldn't be scared, Richard?
From the opening tip all the way to the end. 3:15 to play. Kentucky with a 40-point lead over Center College. Check in on a couple of the other stops that Damian Fishback made on his trip around the league. A 40-point lead for the Kentucky Wildcats over Center College, Division III school in Danville, Kentucky. Richard Cross, Damian Fishback with you tonight from Rupp Arena. This gets real next Friday night. Opening night of the college basketball season. 13 of the 14 teams in the league are in action next Friday night. You've been bouncing around the SEC. Is the hype for real? I think you believe it is.
It's so for real. It's so for real. You see my vehicle that I was driving?
I love it.
Smooth operator, listening to all types of music when I was going around. But listen, the hype is for real. Believe it. I think the SEC could possibly be, it will be a top three conference this year. And one of the reasons, Michael Porter Jr.
Missouri was 2-16 last year in the SEC.
Listen, those guys who have come back, if you saw the Kansas scrimmage, and I know most people probably didn't see it, you saw those guys at the bottom. Barnett, Puryear, Terrence Phillips playing with a different mindset, different mentality. And Michael Porter Jr., another guy that is better than advertised. Cuonzo Martin, he will get it done there. And then for Georgia, this is a tricky team for me. Coach Mark Fox, you lose the likes of a J.J. Frazier, but you bring in guys like Nicholas Claxton, Rayshawn Hammonds. They have good size and length. And Yante Maiden, a guy who had 30-plus in both of their scrimmage games against Michigan State and Clemson, I think will be a terror to deal with around the conference.
He may not be just a double-double guy. He may be like a 20-14 guy this year.
No doubt about it. And don't forget about the Arkansas Razorbacks. We forgot about them last year. Listen, Moses Kingston, he's gone. But let me tell you something. Trey Thompson slimming down, Dustin Thomas, and Daniel Gafford, 5-star. He is impressive, athletic, sensational, and they are tenacious. And guys like Jalen Bradford, they have the same mindset of Coach Mike Anderson. I look for them to surprise people this year in SEC.
Interesting to hear you say that about Trey Thompson. Every time I looked at him last year, I looked at him and go, God, he ought to be putting up better numbers than he's putting up. This is how the media predicted the finish in the SEC this year. Cats for the 47th time picked to win the SEC. And you got Florida A&M and Alabama at the top. Alabama with a young group. Michael Porter Jr.'s Missouri Tigers, Cuonzo Martin's Missouri Tigers, led by Porter Jr.
Get that right,
fifth this year in the league. How about having Cuonzo back in the league?
Oh, it's great. You know, when he first got the job, I had the opportunity to talk to him very briefly when he got it. And the first thing he said was, Fishback, it's so good to be back in the SEC. This is his home. He loves it in this conference, and I think that he is built for this conference. He exemplifies toughness, and he, like Coach Cal, really cares about making sure those kids get to another level.
Hey, 1 week from tonight, it's the SEC opening night. You'll start in Germany. Texas A&M and West Virginia couldn't agree. College Station, Morgantown. So they're going to Ramstein Air Force Base in Germany. That's at 6 Eastern, followed by Utah Valley, Kentucky. That on the SEC Network. Doubleheader on the SEC Network next Friday night. Debut of Michael Porter Jr. Iowa State and Missouri at 9 Eastern.
Well, when you look at a couple of those teams on there, Iowa State and West Virginia, Big 12 SEC matchup, I think every single year a bid will be won or lost from that particular matchup with the two conferences. But this year is more important than ever, in particular for the Southeastern Conference. We just talked about believing the hype, but if you do not take care of business in the non-conference, I don't care what league you are, it comes back to bite you come conference time, because you got a lot of quality teams who don't get to the tournament because they did not take care of business early.
John Calipari emptying his bench here at the end. Johnny David, Jr. from Pittsburgh, into the ball game. Brad Calipari, the sophomore, son of John Calipari, in. Also Dylan Pulliam, redshirt junior from Cynthiana, Kentucky. Nick Richards fouled inside. Maybe one last big roar in this building if Nick Richards can make a free throw here and get Kentucky to the century mark.
Well, there's no doubt the Wildcats are going to get to the century mark again. Scoring points will not be a problem. Defensively is what they will have to continue to work on as they look at the upcoming schedule, because in particular, the competition level will continue to step up. We talked about veteran teams in Vermont. Of course, when you look at Kansas, a team that has Devontae Graham back, Gerald Levert, very versatile player, McCullough, who can shoot the basketball as well, Richard.
That is a Friday, Sunday, Tuesday swing to start the season. John Calipari wanted to play a couple of games before they faced Kansas in the Champions Classic this year at the United Center in Chicago.
Never done this before. Brad Calipari gets a shot that's going down. I'm calling it right now. I'm just telling you. I believe what my eyes told me in practice.
Instead, he feeds it inside. And Sasha Kalia-Jones shows nice touch from 8 feet.
Well, he's the guy that I think Kentucky's going to need. In a peculiar situation, right? A lot of the guys being one and done didn't get a lot of minutes last year, but has shown improvements, and I think he can help this team and will play a pivotal role.
That 3 off the mark for Braden Jackson, a freshman for Center College. 8 freshmen on this Center College roster, and they were young a season ago. There's a foul on Pulliam. Coming up a little bit later tonight, 9 Eastern, more previews and breakdowns heading into Week 10 of the SEC football season. It's SEC Nation. Peter Burns, Chris Doering in the house tonight. No one covers the SEC like we do. You can see SEC Now streaming live on the ESPN app. SEC Nation in the morning. SEC Now coming up in just a few minutes. Free throws here for Carson Noble, freshman from Mount Vernon, Kentucky. Christian Terry is also coming to the game for the first time tonight. Casey Purvis and Matt Moret. So Greg Mason giving an opportunity to a bunch of guys on his team to play on the floor at Rupp Arena, which is a big deal for a lot of these guys that are from the state of Kentucky.
Sure, something that they will never forget, something that they will be proud of forever, and in particular the way they play. Never a hung down head, never a lack of effort, and quite frankly, something that they can look back at during the season and say, listen, if we can play against these guys, even for a few minutes spurt, this is something that we know we can do better against the rest of the teams in our league.
There's Dawson Crump into the game also for Center College. Chris West has checked in. When we finish up, there's Brad Calipari. You called it.
Doesn't miss. Let me tell you something else. There may come to a point this year, if they get zone, where Mr. Calipari makes a difference. I'm telling you, he doesn't miss.
Brad Calipari shot 47% from behind the arc as a senior at McDuffie. Hey, by the way, as soon as we finish up, we're going to toss it to the studio with Peter and Chris. Then we'll come back to Rupp Arena for a chat with John Calipari, head coach of the Wildcats. Kentucky should be able to just dribble it out here. 106-63, the final tonight between Kentucky and Center College. Nice moment there with Cal and Greg Mason. That wraps it up from Rupp Arena. Kentucky, big win tonight. We'll send you to the studio. Peter Burns and Chris Doering for SEC Now. Check.
Oh, that's for you. You want to hear it?
Yes, I am.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Damian called a shot on the air. He said if Brad Calipari gets it, he's nailing it.
All right, thanks a lot, Peter. Back at Rupp Arena where Kentucky gets a big win in its final exhibition game tonight. John Calipari joins us. Third exhibition game. Did you accomplish? Did you see what you wanted to see tonight?
Yeah, in games like this, you're trying to evaluate what's their focus. Will they make easy plays? Will they go a little haywire? And we did all that. I mean, I know how young we are, but I thought we got selfish. I thought we didn't pass the ball the way we've been. And you can't, when you're playing at Kentucky where everyone's going to give their best shot and have great energy, you got to do this together. But we'll be able to see it on the tape. And I'm not worried about where we are today. And I'll tell the players, there's some players that didn't play well, but I'm not worried about it. Let's just try to get better and grow.
Well, at practice yesterday, I told people on the air tonight it was probably one of the tougher practices that I've ever seen. Where do you think that this team is going? What direction do you feel like they're going right now at this point of the season?
Well, there's two things. In that practice, I was probably louder than I've been in 3 or 4 years because we got to get these heart rates up and get, when they're fatigued, get them to be able to concentrate and fight and hold on to the rope and not just like surrender to the fatigue. And that's what we do, and that's what young kids do. And so, yeah, that was hard. And it may have, a couple guys, it may have backed them up. I like Nick today. Nick made some strides. But again, the guy he's going against is 6'3". I mean, we're going to be playing, a tough schedule of games, and we got to get better defensively. I put the zone in just because I got tired of them shooting layups. And I said, let's just try our zone a little bit, and it was okay. Gave up some threes. Anytime we play zone, they're making threes. And anytime you play us zone, we can't make any threes. I don't understand.
What about Wenyen Gabriel tonight?
Played hard, competed, made some shots. And again, I got to watch the tape because I was watching the whole game and not an individual. But then you'll watch the tape and all this stuff comes out. The great thing, stats indict you, but film convicts you. And so that, when we watch this tape and know, why didn't you make that pass? Why didn't you pass to your teammate? We still don't talk enough on defense. We got a lot to work on. I know this, we haven't peaked yet. I mean, we're there.
You, to start the regular season, 7 games in 16 days. It's a pretty heavy load in the first couple of weeks of the year.
Well, there's 3 and 5, and that was our choice because we wanted a couple games before we go to Chicago and play a great team in Kansas. We knew, let's get a couple games under our belt. Vermont is a top 50, 60 team with veterans, and they're coming back. I mean, that's our second game. Utah Valley's better. So then after that, we play a bunch of games, and it's not all bad because we'll know, all right, where are we? Then we hit December, we got a week here and a week there to try to fix stuff.
Wenyen Gabriel played well tonight. P.J. Washington played well, but Kevin Knox is a guy who I think could be a possible leader on your team. How would you evaluate the way he played tonight?
No, I thought there were some opportunities for him to drive. See, they're going to play Kevin physical. So what Kevin's got to do is play through bumps. When they bump, don't go the other way, don't fade away. Make them hit you twice and then try to score. He's just learning that. He shoots it well, but that drive is going to make him that guy that it's hard to guard him because he's coming. And if you give him space, he'll make a shot.
Your exhibition games, you focused on playing teams from the state of Kentucky. Obviously, you raised a bunch of money with the Morehead State game. Why is that important for when you have the opportunity to bring other schools into your building that are here?
Well, when you're coaching at Kentucky, you get a chance to leverage the program to help some other programs, and we've done it in my going on 9 years now. But we play teams that it's a big deal for them. St. Thomas More, I spoke to their alumni group the night before. I mean, we brought Clarion down for my alma mater. We brought them down twice. But again, to give them that opportunity. And Moorhead out-rebounded us and shot 49%. That's where we are right now, and it's we just got to keep building. And yesterday was really hard. Now, I can't do that all next week because we got 3 games in 5 days. And I told them that. I said, we did what we did for a reason, and now we're going to have to grow from there.
Coach, a week from tonight, it's for real. We appreciate your time tonight.
Thank you.
Kentucky, big win tonight over Center College. They will open the SEC season next Friday night. Cats win it at Rupp Arena. Good night. For Damian Fishback, I'm Richard Cross. We'll talk to you soon.
Yeah, she's maybe a little overwhelmed, and I don't think she'll do much talking.
Where are you going, Coach? Right here?
Yeah, I'll get right here.
Remind you, if you have questions, to signal for the wireless microphones. Coach, if you open us up with an opening statement here, please.
What a night for Center basketball. What a night for Center College. In the dictionary, nirvana is a state of perfect happiness, and that's me right now, and I think it's our guys as well. Obviously, we lost to a very good Kentucky team. I know that they've got a lot of learning to do, but 8 of 14 from 3, everything we tried to do, we did well, and they just devastated us shooting the ball 52-17 on the glass. I think we'd all agree that they're better than they were 1 week ago. So, but just very, very thankful. Can't thank Coach Cal, Dwayne Peavy, and Kentucky basketball enough for an amazing night for these guys up here and guys in the locker room.
This time we'll take questions for the coach or student athletes. Larry, you got a microphone? Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Coach, with such a huge height disadvantage against Kentucky, your guys attacked the rim over and over. Was that the game plan, or was it just kind of nerves and I'm just going to go to straight line?
No, it was totally the game plan. We pretty much said, hey, we've got, this is 2.5 weeks for us in. We probably have maybe 15 offensive sets in. A lot of stuff we just, I take that back. We probably have 7 or 8 offensive sets. But we just said space it, drive it, because Kentucky's going to take us out of all of our sets anyway. I mean, defensively, and I think our guys will say this, they are devastating just because of their size, just because of their length. But we wanted to drive it, and we knew offensively that's what we were going to have to do. And we call it Wildcat, just drive it, jump stop, make a pass, make it one more, knock down some threes. We shot 8 of 27, and that's not too bad against those guys.
For the two players, what was the best thing about this week for you guys?
I would just say just the excitement around the college. Such a great opportunity for Center College as a whole. The whole campus kind of rallied around this game. It was a really awesome experience for all of us. This is a great opportunity to play against one of the best programs in college basketball, and we were really excited to do this. And obviously, length, athleticism really got to us in the end, but we thought that we got better, and we hope that we helped them get better as a team too.
Yep, the competition was pretty high tonight, and I think we rose to the challenge. So we're just thankful for Kentucky and having us here, and what better way to play in Rupp Arena. So there's a lot of history behind this arena, and we're really thankful to be able to play here.
Greg, how well did you think your guys competed?
Very, very proud of them. I mean, it takes a lot of courage to come into an environment like this. I mean, it's kind of like playing golf with Phil Mickelson. You want to do it, but then you get up on that first tee box and the butterflies hit. And other than just a devastating run at the end of the first half, I thought we were awesome. So couldn't be more proud of our guys. I told them, let's represent Center College and Center basketball in a way that's deserving, and I thought our guys did that and more. So very, very proud, very pleased.
Hey, Greg.
Yeah.
It's a two-parter. Did anybody on the court play with as much passion as your number 32, Perry Ayers? And there was two people introduced to us, but there's a third person